Welcome back to History Class with Dr. W. In the previous lecture, we talked about life in the colonies and how the colonists were influenced by the trends and fashions that were popular in England at that time. We're going to continue that discussion in this lesson on a slightly different vein. Just as they were influenced by things like fashion and architecture, they were also influenced by English ideas. And so we're going to be discussing that over the next couple of lessons, starting with this one on the Enlightenment. So just to give a quick definition or description of the Enlightenment, it was an intellectual movement originating in Europe in the 17th century, which grappled with big philosophical questions such as God, religion, nature, and life and death, with the core belief that man could answer such questions through science, observation, and reason. Now, we're going to be talking about this idea really over the next several chapters as we go all the way up and through the American Revolution, but beginning in this lesson with some introductory examples and thoughts. Perhaps no American represents the ideas of the Enlightenment better than Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was born in 1706 in Boston. He worked with his brother, a printer, in some of his younger years, and went on to have an incredible career that bridged a whole host of different undertakings and ways of thought. He really is the ultimate Renaissance man of that era. Down the road, he would establish one of the first libraries in the colonies, and he is perhaps best known as a newspaper editor and champion of the colonial movement as we approach the American Revolution. We're going to talk about some of those ideas down the road when we talk about the American Revolution itself, but for now we're going to talk about how he represents the Enlightenment. So in that era, he was very well known for his scientific experiments, particularly those related to lightning and electricity. Some of those thoughts he published in 1751. He was also particularly famous for developing the lightning rod, which we may completely take for granted now, but in that era was an incredibly important invention because so many homes, which were generally built of wood, were prone to catch fire, and the lightning rod saved many homes from the potential of burning down. Incidentally, another of his inventions, the Franklin stove, also was geared toward protecting homes from fire. It was a very safe and efficient wood-burning stove. John Adams wrote of Benjamin Franklin's invention, "Nothing, perhaps, that ever occurred on this earth was so well calculated to give any man an extensive and universal celebrity as the discovery of lightning rods." So this is just one example of Benjamin Franklin's representing the Enlightenment and science and experimentation. There are many other contributions as well. Franklin helped to establish the American Philosophical Society in 1743 and the Public Academy of Philadelphia in 1751, which later became the University of Pennsylvania. He also established the Library Company in Philadelphia, as I mentioned just a moment ago, one of the first libraries in the British colonies. In addition to this, Benjamin Franklin did many good things just in terms of helping improve the lives of the colonists, such as starting a fire company and one of the first public hospitals in the colonies. He also becomes linked to the anti-slavery movement later in his career, although early in his career he actually owned slaves as well. Enlightenment thinking also led many philosophers and writers in Europe and eventually in America to reconsider the relationship between the ruler and the ruled. Enlightenment thinkers viewed this relationship as a social contract, which might be most associated with the writer John Locke and his essays on government. In this relationship, power should work for the betterment of those under the rule of those governors rather than behaving like so many of the ruthless dictators in history. These beliefs form the underpinnings of Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence, which, of course, we will discuss much more in future lectures. For now, understand that Enlightenment thinking was beginning to exert a strong influence in colonial America. The growing towns and cities were beginning to establish libraries, universities, and museums where citizens could learn and try to understand the workings of the universe for themselves.